families from. I'm really excited to talk to you all about NCCC. It's a really cool opportunity to bring some extra folks, onto your site, to your organization to get things done. Just to start off, so NCCC is the only full-time residential branch of AmeriCorps. If you remember like our old CCC crews, that build a lot of our state parks and highways and stuff, this is very similar. Members sign up for a 10-month service term. We put them on teams and then they deploy all over the country, so every month they're in a different place doing a different cool project. We have a team right now in Newport News, building homes with a Habitat affiliate. So they can do a lot of different things. Our projects are short term, 3 to 8, 10 weeks max. But because we're short term, we can kind of float between that direct service and the capacity building that's usually reserved for like Vista. So I've had teams do everything from, well, fighting wildfires, as you can see, in the photo. We've had them paint murals. We've had them do programming with Boys and Girls Clubs. I've had them support domestic violence shelters across the state, repairs after tornadoes in Lynchburg. We did a really cool project in Northern Virginia several years ago where it was run by one organization, but what they did was they floated between all of the different organizations in the county and basically built a resource guide of all of the different services all of those organizations offered, so that when somebody entered, the system looking for help with food or clothing or whatever, dental care, discounted dental care, they didn't have to just bounce between organizations. Any organization could pull the guide out, and say, okay, well, here's where you need to go, just saving time and gas money. That was up near Front Royal. Sorry, just remember that was Front Royal. So yeah, really cool, different things that we can do. We like variety, so we're always interested in projects, that are on that back burner list. Every organization has a list of stuff that you would do if you just had more hands. We are a federal program, so there is an application and concept form to apply. It's very easy. There is no match or cost share to host one of our teams. We are short term, like I said. Our teams range in size from 6 to 10 folks. That does include a team leader. Our team leader is a logistical lead, not a technical lead. So your organization would need to cover, training and supervision, for the task or tasks, however that looked. Teams also need housing. I'm not looking for anything fancy. I'm looking for 4 walls, a roof, and a lock and door. If there is access to a place to cook and store food, we'll buy their groceries. Every team comes with their own transportation, usually a 15-passenger van or a pickup truck, or pickup trucks, that'll support the team. We cover the gas and the insurance on that. We also cover their workers' comp, torts, liability stuff. They've all been federally background checked, including against the sex offender registry. They've been drug tested, and we continue to drug test randomly throughout the year. They've also been TB checked as well. So really cool way, like I said, to get, extra help, for a short time if you're looking at a blitz project or something you've always wanted to try out. You have some events coming. We do a lot of projects in the winter helping with things like clothing and food drives. We know that we just passed the 4th anniversary of the pandemic being declared. We know a lot of folks' client list has exploded at a time when their volunteer force maybe hasn't quite recovered. So we're really interested in helping support our organizations, all across the state with all of the great things that they're doing. So I'll pause now that I've finished my spiel. We run from early August through early May every year, so basically the school calendar. And I'll have Samantha send out our RFP that has all the dates and deadlines. I am an easy application. I don't ask any financial information or long-term sustainability stuff. I am actually a lot of folks' first federal grant. So if you've got somebody that's always wanted to try their hand at grant writing, I hold your hand through it. So I'm a great professional development, just to keep in your back pocket too. So we are AmeriCorps NCCC, the National Civilian Community Corps. Our members are 18 to 26, although our team leaders can be a little older than that. But yeah, we're an underutilized resource in Virginia. It's just one of the states that we're trying to do more projects in. But there's a little bit of a lack of awareness, I think, sometimes that we're out there since we're the tiniest program in the AmeriCorps world. So, any questions? See, what have we done in Virginia? We just finished a project in Pulaski, helping build what will become like an economic hub for folks starting businesses. I have some beautiful mural pictures they painted. We built fencing out on Chincoteague. We built new trails. If you're in Lynchburg, we worked with Parks and Rec. There's a trail with like these leapfrog pads through a creek. We did. Um, and then a lot of trail work, all across the state, a lot of, home repair, home building too.
It's also an opportunity for any members who are ending service who might be interested in doing a different term of service. I think that, at the commission, we talk about, we have a VISTA program. So, we send out information about our VISTA program and recruiting for that. But NCCC is obviously looking for great applicants as well. So
Always recruiting. Our current recruitment deadline ends at the end of April for our core members. They would start in July and then graduate in May. It's also a good opportunity if you have anybody who's applying, but isn't just quite ready for your organization. You can send them to us for 10 months, then we'll send them back with some some new skills. It's also a great opportunity to recruit. Having a group of, 6 to 8 to 10 folks on your, working with you for a month or so. That's long enough to kind of treat it as a really long job interview. See if you like anybody matches. Great recruitment for your AmeriCorps positions as well. Our members often do a second year. They'll find something they like. We purposely mix up their year, let them try on a lot of different hats. But yeah, they often find something they like and they'll do a second AmeriCorps year focused on that to get the experience.
great. Any questions? I don't know if there's any organizations you've worked with on here. Trying to think. I don't know if anybody in the chat knows that you've worked with the NCCC team. I can't think of any on the top of my head, but obviously an opportunity. You can have an AmeriCorps State program and have a team at your organization as well, or partner with a team. Anyway, any questions for Stephanie? I'll send out the information too, so you guys can look at it.
I see someone's on here from United Way. We just finished 3 VITA tax projects with United Ways across our 20 state region. So
Right
think about us for tax season next year.
All right. Thank you so much, Stephanie. I really, really appreciate it a lot. Always a great partnership.
All right. Well, I'll let you guys get back to your agenda. Thank you for letting me come on and chat this morning. I'll throw my email in the chat just if anybody has any questions afterwards.
Sounds good.
Thanks all.
See ya. All right, moving right along. Some commission updates. This is a slide with the training opportunities that are coming up and does include the summer trainings for AmeriCorps staff in our portfolio. So I want to highlight that the American Service Commission's ask is having their training in Minneapolis for the whole United States, all of the commissions, on April 24th to the 26th. I'll be there. That's it from our staff. Not sure. Oh, Matt, you'll be there. Okay. I'm not sure if anybody else on the call will be there. We'll have a great time in Minneapolis. And then if you can't make that training, obviously ask what's on an amazing, set of trainings. They'll do a virtual as well in May. Last year, I think the commission paid for it. This year, we don't have plans to pay for it. So if you're interested, I can't remember off the top of my head how much it is. I feel like it's maybe three or 350. But if you're interested, get yourself signed up for that. I think the deadline for that sign up is the end of April or May. Not the end of May, the end of April. So then the summit is coming up. I believe Alex is on the call and he's going to be talking about that. That's May 15th to the 16th. We are going to have an AmeriCorps convening. So we had one last year if anybody was here. Excuse me. And we had the AmeriCorps regional office. We had some VISTA programs. We invite everybody who's affiliated with AmeriCorps. We have a short panel. And then we did have folks from the Vista recruitment unit. We had breakout rooms. So anyway, we'll send out an agenda for that, and you guys can get registered for that. That's free to attend for everybody affiliated with AmeriCorps. And then we're going to be doing a recruitment workshop in May. I think last year it was in June. You guys asked for it earlier. So we're probably going to contract with Do Good, Be Good again, but we are looking for other trainers. So that'll be in May. June, we're going to have new program directors orientation. It's going to be virtual. So you guys know the RFA is out. So any new directors, there's staff turnover at your organizations, anybody who's new in their role, new programs that come into the portfolio, we're going to have a orientation. And then July, these dates were sent out in an email, so please put them on your calendar. July 9th through the 11th, we're going to do virtual technical training. So it'll be the first half of each day. I believe it's 9:30 to 12:30 is our what we're planning for our agenda of each day. And it'll be things like, timesheets, criminal history checks, fiscal updates, that kind of thing. And then in person, we've added a day from last year. I think everybody here, except maybe a couple of programs, were at it. But we're gonna have a in-person convening again. It may be at Maymont, it may not be at Maymont. The location's TBD, but it will be July 23rd to the 25th, and everybody should have money in your budgets for that. If you don't, or if you need to move money, obviously get with Christina. But we'll send out more information as it becomes available, like the agenda, where it's going to be, that kind of thing. Any questions about training?
Sam, I had one. I thought the email said the convening was August 6th through 8th or something. Did that change, or is that something else? Or did I just misread it completely?
Anybody back me up on that? That's a good question. Let me look into that. I'm pretty sure it's in July. But that could be something else. So let me put that on my brain agenda to look into.
I can
Okay.
I can pull up our planning sheet real quick and make sure that that's the dates we have too.
I do have it. I got it from the planning sheet, but if you want to look for the email that I sent to everybody, and
do.
see what dates Christy might be talking about, that'd be great. Okay, moving along for time. So the commission is getting monitored right now. So we're talking about monitoring your programs. The commission also gets monitored from AmeriCorps. And what happens is, I said more to come because we're going to talk about monitoring at training in July. But some things, so we get a commission support grant from AmeriCorps, and then we have primes, which is what your organization's applications come under. And just some things that I've noticed as Christina and I have been answering the monitoring requests from the Office of Monitoring at AmeriCorps, are just a couple of these reminders. So remember to adjudicate your checks. I'm going to talk about in a minute a project that we have a contractor working on right now when it comes to criminal history checks. But just, do your own. We preach this, right? I have the tattoo, right? But just remember to adjudicate. Make sure your member service agreements are signed and dated before or on the start of service. So if you are able to send them, via DocuSign, or if you're able to do an in-person orientation, they can't be signed, or they shouldn't be signed after the enrollment start date in eGrants. Make sure your policy is compliant and up to date. There are a couple policies right now that are not compliant, and your program officer is going to work with you on that. And we also have the contractor working on that. Make sure you're following all of your own policies. So if you have a policy and there's a certain situation that comes up, make sure you follow it. Because we ask for certain things that happen, a policy to match the situation. Reporting accurate numbers based on source documentation for your performance measures. AmeriCorps has asked us for basically source documentation from numbers that were like an output and outcome. So if you've reported 10 students went through your program, they want to see a sign-up sheet or some way that you've tracked a unique identifier for those students. So and then make sure your PERs are based off source documentation and allowable costs. So if you're, and Christina will go over, PERs, and we'll, hopefully consistently train on it, but your PERs and your expenses should be based on actual. and not budgeted. So if you budgeted $10,000 for 12 months, it shouldn't be $10,000 divided by 12. It should be your actual expenses, because AmeriCorps does transaction testing, as do we when we monitor. So those are just some reminders, friendly reminders. Gonna move on. So I think I mentioned this in the last PD call, but we hired a contractor mid last year to do basically an all-encompassing criminal history check audit, because it is so massive, right? So in phase one, between July 23 and February 24, we had the contractor pull all the TrueScreen, all the field print, all of the e-grants rosters for program year 21, 22, and 23. So 23 is our current year right now. And so she identified all the checks that didn't have adjudications. And so then phase two, I'm going to hop around, is if your grant is identified as not being adjudicated, or like in 21, 22, field print was kind of wonky, so people were still adjudicating outside of the system. So if we don't see within the vendor that you've adjudicated a check, we're going to send you a letter. It's not like a threatening letter or anything. It just says like, hey, your grant has been identified as one who needs verification of adjudication of your members or covered staff. And then we'll give you about 3 weeks to send us the documentation via Go Anywhere. I think that's pretty standard. I think everybody has been through that process at least once through a desk review or something. And then this came to my attention, so she's working on this now. Reviewing all of your organizational criminal history check policies. So we have a template that we gave out at the beginning of the year, and it's our policy that template is compliant based on AmeriCorps' recommendations for a compliant criminal history check policy. So everyone should be using that template. And so mostly because they've changed the rules, we want to know, how are you identifying the state of residence at the time of application? Is it their license? Is it their AmeriCorps application? Is it some other form of documentation? That's really important to make sure that you have compliant checks. And then the applicant's legal name. How do you determine that? Is it their AmeriCorps application? Is it their passport? Is it their birth certificate? Is their license, government issued photo ID? Because it used to be government issued photo ID. Now it doesn't have to be. So we need to know, how does your organization determine the legal applicant name? And so that's missing from a lot of policies right now. So she's doing audit of everyone's policies, seeing where the gaps are, and your program officers have already been informed about some that are non-compliant, and they're going to work with you to make them compliant. So much fun. I know. Anyway, any questions about that? I know it's a lot of information. Perfect. I'm going to pass it to Christina to give everybody an update on the RFA.
Thank you, Samantha. So I'm going to talk a little bit about something that's probably on a lot of your minds. I'm going to give a little update about our formula RFA. Submissions are currently being reviewed by our procurement officer for completeness. If he identifies that anything from your application is missing, such as an application attachment, you may receive a follow-up email from us or from him. That's still being determined. The next step for applications is our review panel. Once we've determined, if all the applications are complete, they'll be sent to our review panel. After the review panel has reviewed the applications, any applications that they recommend for funding will go through a negotiation period of about 2 weeks. That'll be approximately April 5th through 19th, although I think that might be bumped back a little bit just because of the number of applications that we received. Recommended applications will then be submitted to AmeriCorps, the agency, by May 17th. As in past years, if your application is submitted to AmeriCorps as part of our formula package, you'll receive a letter from us. It's just an application status letter letting you know that it has been submitted with our formula package. And then AmeriCorps, the agency, has let us know that they anticipate making notifications on July 25th. So those are the dates and updates with the formula RFA. I'm probably not allowed to answer any questions, but if you have any, we can try to answer them. But unfortunately, we're not allowed to give a lot of information out. Okay, I guess we can go into the fiscal updates, which is also me. Excuse me. So I wanted to start my fiscal updates by just saying that, obviously with any staff transition, it's always hard. So I just want to say thank you to everyone who's really worked with me to sort of get us back on track. So thank you all for helping me out on that. So this is just a reminder that all PERs up to February 2024 were due on March 11th. We're about halfway through the program year, so now is a great time to catch up if you are a little bit behind with your submission of PERs. In any given month, if you need a little bit of time past the 10th of the month, you can just contact me. It's not an issue, but if you can let us know ahead of time, that's very helpful. And this reminder is really more for programs. We have some programs that are sometimes several months behind, and that does create more of an issue on our end. So if you just need a little bit more time during the month, that's fine. But again, now would be a great time to catch up if you are several months behind. And we want to get you your reimbursements as soon as possible, obviously, but it is sort of administratively easier for both us and for our finance colleagues if we can submit our reimbursement packages as a batch or a group. So it is very helpful if the PRs can be submitted on time. So on that note, if we can go to the next slide. This says poll. It's not really a poll, so sorry about that. Don't want to fake you out, but in the chat, if you want to put your comments, we are considering moving from a monthly periodic expense report submission to a quarterly submission. And that, again, is to sort of ease the burden on you so you don't have to submit as many PERs, and also for us and for our VDSS colleagues. Again, like many of you, we're part of a larger organization, and your reimbursements don't stop with us. They go through many more steps and other offices here at VDSS before they get to you. And it is easier for our colleagues, especially with this sort of added layer of ARP funding, if we can submit everything together rather than one at a time as they trickle in. So this is something that we're considering. If you want to, this is an option if you have strong feelings one way or the other to let us know. If you're more comfortable doing that offline with me, that's fine too. You can send me an email or ask for a call. But if anybody wants to sort of put in the chat, if they like this idea, they don't like this idea, we certainly would take that into consideration as we consider this moving forward. So if anyone, I know we're sort of halfway through the call, so I don't want to take up too much time with but if anyone wants to come off mute or put it in the chat. Okay, so we have some who prefer monthly. If there's any other comments, like I said, if you prefer to send me an email, that's fine too. So that's what I have right now. I believe we move next to Alex.
Thanks, Christina. And good morning, everyone. Thanks for having me on today. Like usual, I've got a whole bunch of information from our outreach and communications team to let you all know about so that we can get you involved in all the different statewide work that we've got going on and to just connect you with any resources we have. The first of which is our upcoming Volunteerism Summit. It'll be Wednesday, May 15th and Thursday, May 16th, running from around 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. both days, with aforementioned AmeriCorps convening taking place on that Thursday right after the summit session ends. So the big encouragement I have for all of you today is we have 84 free AmeriCorps member registration spots left open. So please, please, please encourage your members to sign up. Let them know that this is a great resource. We're going to have opportunities for virtual networking, which they can use to meet with other AmeriCorps members, other nonprofits across the state. Will be a really good chance for them to see what else is out there, what other options there are if they're looking to continue a career in the nonprofit sector and stay involved with volunteerism and volunteer management especially. We also have sessions specifically for AmeriCorps members, a couple on career development, ways to use your the Education Award, finding career paths. It's also a good chance to see what a couple of other AmeriCorps programs in the state are doing. I know one of my VISTA members will be presenting on some of her work, and then a couple of AmeriCorps members from the Virginia Housing Alliance VISTA program will be presenting on the projects they have. So there will be a great AmeriCorps presence. We have many free registrations left for our AmeriCorps state members. Be sure to share that information and get them to register. That registration does run all the way up until the summit, but the sooner they register and get it on their calendars, the better. The more of a presence it'll be, the more we can plan around that being there and put our time towards making member activities happen during the summit. Also, as a note, I know that there's other national training happening around at the same time. So for program staff, this may not be as much of a choice. But for those of you who do want to attend, tickets for the summit are also 50% off for AmeriCorps staff using the code AmeriCorps. I've put our keynote speakers on there on this slide as well. Brianna Dorlis is an AmeriCorps alum and the founder of Connecting the Cause. She does really great work around equity and in volunteerism especially, and really having these honest conversations about what we need to do better if we want to be addressing our community needs in the most just way possible. Sue Carter-Kale is another nationally known speaker. She's really an expert in volunteer management and will have a lot of great insights on how to use data, how to find other resources out there to really enhance your program design, but also just to understand how to communicate about volunteerism and how to share its effectiveness in the best light possible, which we know is something very relevant for AmeriCorps as well. And I'll pause there to answer any questions about the summit. I know I see one in the chat. Since this will be during regular business hours, are members allowed to use this time as part of their service? I will pass that on to the AmeriCorps team, who may know a little bit more about that technical question than I do.
So if they're going to like a training, they can count it, as training hours. Yeah, certainly.
Yeah. And yeah, this will definitely be it's all about a lot of our sessions that aren't specifically for AmeriCorps members are still going to be nonprofit skills, volunteer management skills, and best practices, which is all relevant for the work that they're doing. All right. Any other questions on the summit? Great. On to the next. So next, I want to talk a little bit about our National Service Awards. This is kind of our last push this week. Those close next week on the 20th. We're asking that all of our programs nominate at least 2 members for this. This is your chance to give members formal recognition through the state. So please be sure to submit nominations. It's a very short form. You just get to brag about your AmeriCorps members and the great work they're doing, tell us a little bit about their impact, and then we'll be able to review those, score those, give awards in multiple categories. They'll be included in that program. And it's really a way for us to also draw on those nominations year-round to do spotlights. I know we're doing a lot of that right now in AmeriCorps Week, which I'll touch on. And Sarah's done a great job with stories of service and continuing to be in touch there. This is our chance to refresh that every year, get a new sense of what AmeriCorps members are doing and how we can best spotlight them and highlight their work. I've got, I think, one more slide on this that shows a little bit more of the timeline. So nominations have been open. You can find that information on our website, and I think Sarah just popped the link to it in the chat as well. Nominations close next week. So as you're thinking about AmeriCorps member recognition, especially during AmeriCorps Week, please get those nominations in. If you have any questions, you can just reach out to me. I'm happy to help. If you find that you're like one day late, please don't be, just get them in on time, but also let me know, and I'm happy to reopen the form if I need to so that we can get those members nominated. We'll be scoring those and reviewing those with members from the Governor's Advisory Board and our staff, and then we'll have nominees and the nominators and any winners notified in late April. During the Volunteerism Summit, we will have a ceremony virtually where we recognize the winners, give them and their nominators a chance to share a little bit more about their service. We see this as a really great opportunity to kind of show off AmeriCorps impact to the broader state ecosystem. So knowing that your members and your programs will be represented up there kind of in front of our audience to share what you're doing is a really great opportunity and something that we started last year and are excited to bring back to the summit again. Now, looking a little bit further forward as kind of a last piece of note here, We're going to look to invite the winners and nominators to our Governor's Awards and Volunteerism and Community Service program in the fall. That's usually hosted at the Governor's Mansion. And again, it's just another way where we can provide a little bit of extra visibility for your programs, your AmeriCorps members, and their impact in different parts of the state. So any questions about National Service Awards? All right, seeing none, let me go ahead and talk a little bit about AmeriCorps Week next. So it's AmeriCorps Week. Congratulations, everyone. Thank you for the work you do in bringing AmeriCorps to your communities and to Virginia. We literally could not have AmeriCorps programs in the state without you all and what you do at the local level. And we are just very thankful for the impact that's available because of that. So we'll be doing a lot on our end to celebrate, and we would love you to join us in that. Share, like, comment on social media posts that we're putting out. If you aren't following us on social media, please do. Now's the time. And you can continue to amplify the messages we're putting out that way. Read the stories of the AmeriCorps members and alumni, which we'll be highlighting throughout the week, some of which are going to be your own members. I know Sarah and I have gotten a couple emails already, I think from 2 college advising corps members, actually, who shared a little bit about their stories of service and why AmeriCorps is so great for them and why they've committed that year of service. So we'd love to get more of those. Let your members know that we're here and we are excited to be able to hear and share their stories more broadly. The last bit here is actually for your members. So this is information be sure to pass on to them. There's going to be an Instagram Live tomorrow hosted by VCU, talking a little bit about how to use their Siegel Education Award after service. And I've copied the information down there below, but the big note is just to be aware that tomorrow at 5:30 p.m., AmeriCorps members should tune in and kind of listen to those tips and tricks and guidance on why schools of national service are a great place to look if they're looking to continue their education. VCU obviously being one of them, their School of Education will have someone talking through that particular process. So open for any questions, and I'll also kick it over to Sarah if there's anything else you want to add.
I will just echo everything that Alex just said. Thank you so much for doing that concisely. And then add that anytime you can send folks our way, either by email or kind of connecting us on social media. Like Alex said, we would love to feature other stories of service. So please keep that in mind, but also please pass along to any communications people that you have that tagging Serve Virginia on any social media posts that you all are doing, especially for AmeriCorps Week, but really kind of going forward at any point. If you tag us, we will then reshare it. And so it's a great way to get a little bit of a boost from any posts that you're already doing to kind of share them with our audience as well. And if you have any other kind of communications needs or questions, please feel free to reach out. And to Matt, I will put that blurb and the link into the chat as soon as I go on mute. So thank you all.
Awesome. Thanks, Sarah. And if anything else ever comes to mind for you all, throughout the year and obviously in future years, we're always looking for different ways we can do recognition, we can celebrate AmeriCorps. If there are ideas you all have or things you do specifically with your members and in your programs, we would love to hear about those and kind of add those to the list of things we could possibly consider for either statewide programming or just as a way to help you on the local level with the work that you're doing. All right, that's all for me.
All right, thank you, Alex. Now we will move to your members and SNAP.
Hey everyone, I am going to talk about a recent situation that we had with one of our programs with UVA. So thanks UVA for bringing this to our attention and helping us work through this. And I just wanted to share this scenario so that you're all aware of updates about SNAP, about policies, and about how we can handle any issues that your members face in accessing SNAP. I know that, AmeriCorps members do not make a lot, and a lot of our programs recommend SNAP to their members as something that can make service a lot more financially feasible and can alleviate some of that financial stress that can come with serving with AmeriCorps. So the situation that we saw arise recently was relating to the able-bodied adults without dependents work requirements. And this is basically a policy that's existing at the federal level with SNAP. that requires SNAP recipients who don't have disabilities, caregiving responsibilities, or other extenuating circumstances to be actively engaged in some form of work or volunteering to maintain their eligibility for SNAP. The place that we ran into kind of a snag with this is that, of course, AmeriCorps service is technically not defined as either employment or volunteer work. And that led to some questions from caseworkers and from local departments of social services about whether AmeriCorps members are eligible for SNAP under these requirements, whether AmeriCorps service classifies as work or volunteering for the purposes of this policy. Next slide, please. So the big question, are AmeriCorps members eligible for SNAP under these work requirements? We were able to get in touch with the VDSS SNAP office, and after talking with them, they let us know that for the purposes of this policy, AmeriCorps service is classified as volunteering. So AmeriCorps service does count as work or volunteering under these requirements. So AmeriCorps members who are otherwise eligible for SNAP should not be disqualified under this policy just because they are pursuing AmeriCorps instead of a more traditional employment or volunteer opportunity. That being said, I think that the caseworkers and the benefits teams always want us to emphasize that AmeriCorps service alone does not guarantee that a member will be eligible for SNAP. There are a lot of factors that go into eligibility determinations. So not just serving with AmeriCorps decides that you will be eligible for SNAP, but if you are otherwise eligible, if you meet all of the other criteria relating to income and household size and all of that, then just AmeriCorps service should not disqualify a member. Next slide. So what should you do if you hear from your members that they've been denied SNAP benefits and you think that was an incorrect decision? The first thing you need to do is reach out to your program officer immediately. We need to get in touch with the VDSS benefits team as quickly as possible because they will be able to help us clarify what the policy is and whether it's appropriate for the member to have not received benefits in that circumstance. Second, after you reach out to your program officer, you should ask your member to appeal the SNAP decision. That's kind of the official process where they go back to the SNAP team and say, hey, I did not receive benefits and I think that decision was made in error. We do have to go through that official process. So make sure that your member does initiate that appeal process while we're working on the back end with the benefits team to clarify the situation. And their caseworker should be able to provide the information on how to open that appeals case. And then third, the way that we handled it in this situation is the VDSS benefits team, so at the state office, will reach out to the local Department of Social Services that your member is working with, and they will provide training on the policy and AmeriCorps and make sure that everyone at the local DSS understands eligibility guidelines for AmeriCorps members. Next slide. So just to get into a broader perspective on this, our partnership with the benefits office is an awesome resource for identifying policies and sharing information statewide. They've committed to kind of emphasizing this training with their local departments of social services and making sure that they are providing information on these AmeriCorps specific policies so that as many caseworkers as possible are going to have a solid understanding of that. But at the end of the day, each locality handles cases differently, and they might have different understandings or different information. So you are our best source of on-the-ground information about benefits access. If you are hearing concerns or questions from your members and their caseworkers, whether it's about this policy or any other policy that's coming into question, please keep us informed so that we can seek solutions together. We can get in touch with the benefits office. We can find out what's going on. And we can either correct the misinformation if that's what's happening, or at least push out more accurate information to our programs if that's what we need to know. So just keep us in the loop and we will keep seeking solutions together. Thanks, everyone. I will hand it over to Kim to get into a SNAP scenario she encountered with one of her programs.
So much, Sasha. And happy AmeriCorps week, everyone. Again, Yes, Sasha basically has explained most of what our office does as program officers. We may not be the exact experts of SNAP and that food assistance programs, but we work very, very closely with our Department of Benefits and helping to ensure that these are smooth processes for you and your members. And so this scenario, this program is not here with us today. Katie's on a well-deserved vacation. It's the International Rescue Committee program. IRC members had several issues of applying for SNAP benefits this year, but one particular member 5 times. That's just ridiculous in trying to apply for SNAP benefits. And so, the question is, most of your members come to you and why was I denied SNAP benefits? And so, and there will be, again, as Sasha did explain, reasons why members are denied or not eligible for SNAP benefits. And as she explains, AmeriCorps state members, especially specifically because many of you have AmeriCorps state members, are available to receive those benefits. And there are different ways that they can apply for these benefits. And so let's see, how do you prepare your members and prepare your program for this? For one thing, AmeriCorps members who do not meet all the SNAP requirements. So make sure your members will be prepared for that, because there may be something else, like maybe another program they're affiliated or another income, a reason that they don't receive benefits, and make sure they look into that. You heard Sasha speak on appealing that process. That's within your right to do so. And as I mentioned, this particular member had to do this 5 times. So they were persistent. Always be persistent and stick with trying to figure out why this is happening. And we are always here to assist you with this. Moving on to the next thing. Caseworkers may not be knowledgeable about AmeriCorps and the income eligibility, although we hope and we hope our caseworkers that your members come in contact with are knowledgeable about AmeriCorps, and actually in their manual, it's not always the case. And so that's why we work closely with the regional SNAP consultants here to ensure that there is information out there and they're educated about AmeriCorps programs, because it is right in the manual. Sometimes it can be a little confusing. That manual is 100 pages or more, but you can always seek and find AmeriCorps or National Community Service in there to find what you need. Another thing is dated material. So we all know that, and most of you know, except for the new folks that are here and maybe some planning grants, that there's dated material out here about AmeriCorps and SNAP or food assistance programs, and they are pretty old. And sometimes that information doesn't translate well. And so what the commission has is a template on our the Ask Basecamp portal, resource portal, where programs can download. And this particular program did have that. IRC did have a letter that they provide to their members. They, personalize the letter per member. And actually, this particular member had that letter with them, and it was unapproved 3 times. So it's one of those things that you have to keep working with. Next slide, please. Okay. So this is just some excerpts from by the program director that was shared by the members of reasons why they were denied. And the first reason that was given to them, and these are members talking to the caseworkers. AmeriCorps living allowance, the living allowance counts as income. The other one is the income is too high, they may hear. Need to attend job training courses, which they don't need to do that, but these are the responses they receive. AmeriCorps programs SNAP assistance letter, which is the one that I mentioned, not authorized by a caseworker. So even if you had that letter with you, you may not be, your members may not be approved. One of the things that the benefits programs did say that they would be looking into ensuring that caseworkers know, get a little bit more education about AmeriCorps programs, and they're working really hard with us to ensure that these are smoother processes for AmeriCorps members and program staff. Next slide. Okay, so there are plenty of tools and resources out there for members and programs, and maybe you are familiar with these. Yeah, go back to the next slide. Thank you. Again, the food assistance benefits letter that can be found and downloaded on the resource portal, our VSC resource portal. An online tool called Common Help, where you can apply for assistance that way. And that's on the Virginia Department of Social Services public website, where you can find Common Help, or go to the link to find that. There's also a third party that works with the Department of Social Services called Enterprise Customer Service Center, acronyms ECSC. And that's where applicants can actually apply telephonically by phone. This center and this customer service center is a place where they won't respond to questions about, say, just questions about eligibility, but they will once your members apply or send in an application process. And usually the application process takes 30 days. And then sometimes they can expedite it 7 days, depending on special circumstances. And I really don't know what those are, but there's a telephone number there where there is another resource. So this the ECSC can answer questions like the status of an application, and those types of questions. But all in all, these questions come up. I know programs, y'all face many of these questions from your members, and you definitely want your members to get what they need. Just like Sasha said earlier, it helps helps these members offset costs with the meager living allowance they receive. And it's really important that we work with you very closely on this, and so that we can ensure that our partnership with you and our departments here provide you and your members with everything you need. Do you have any questions for us? And just also know that regional and local the regional SNAP consultants, we have their contact information. So always give us a call, your program officers, anytime you have any questions about SNAP, and we will work with you on this. Okay. You know how important that is. All right. Well, that's all for me.
Great. Thank you, Kim, and thank you, Sasha. So we are at the end of our call. I can leave it open for any questions or final thoughts, or is there something that we didn't cover that you guys need to? Oh, also let me, I put it in the chat, but Christy, thank you for bringing that up, and everybody else who chimed in. It is August 6th through the 8th, so I had the original dates wrong on the slides. I'll fix them and I'll send them out today, so everyone can also have that link that Alex was talking about for the members. Any questions or final thoughts? Anything you want to get off your chest? We didn't have like a question, but anything you want to shout from the rooftop? I can only see Andrea's face.
Sam, I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
It's Christy. In January, before the RFA came out, you said if people wanted to meet with you all to discuss like applications and things like that, that's possible until the RFA comes out. If we wanted to do that still, and not obviously for this one, but just for future years, do we just email you and say, hey?
Yeah, certainly.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Who should we reach out to? You or?
Yeah, reach out to me, and we'll, depending on what the plan of attack is, we'll bring in other staff folks.
Cool. All right, thanks.
Cool, right on. I hate when people say this, but you can have 7 minutes back. Happy AmeriCorps week, everybody. Thank you for your service. Thank you for your member service. Thank you for everything that your organizations do for your communities. And I'll send this out today. That's all, folks. Bye. Bye, bye, bye. Bye, bye, bye.
A comedian and a singer. Amazing. It just never ends.
You're too much, really too much.
All right, you all. Ciao.
Yeah.